Well, thanks everybody for being here, and appreciate you tuning in. It always amazes me how community-oriented Timnath is and the people that live here, and it's really sort of an honor to be here and actually serve you as part of the council. And I think I can speak for the entire council who's here tonight for all the support you guys give us and help. In fact, we had question and answers that we asked, and we got a number of people to send in questions for us. But I thought two of them made some kind of sense to talk about, and that was, both of them said, thank you so much for the opportunity to ask questions. And they didn't ask a question, but they just wanted to say, hey, thank you for letting me have that opportunity, which I thought was neat, and that's special, and I think that's what makes Timnath special and stuff too. So we're really excited. I think all of us have worked really hard. We've tried to listen to resident input. We've tried to get to the best conclusions for the town of Timnath, and obviously, the reason for this event is, to tell you what's gone on, mainly from a direct input of many of the residents, and also to take some more input. You know, the question and answer. I can tell everybody, when you send an email into the town, all of us read it. And usually then there'll be one of us that'll reply, or one of the staff that'll reply, but all of us read it. And I think it's important that you realize that when you send something, you make input, you're having an effect. At a minimum, it puts something in our head, and as a maximum, we may be able to get done and accomplish something that you guys found out that we could do better on, and that's what our goal totally is, and that's the goal of the staff. The staff also on it. Here's the town council. Every one of these people work really hard. We all have our own independent minds, and it makes it so that the synergy, I think, that we create works pretty well with having a number of different minds thinking about what's going on in the town. You know, I think one of our key things, town governance guided by resident input. You know, residents giving us input is how we get to the decisions we make as a town council. And hopefully everybody understands that and knows that we're trying as hard as we can when we do that. Just a real quick demographics. The town size is 6,400 people, approximately. We aren't sure. Census hasn't come out yet still. Medium home value is $502,000, and that bounces around a little bit and stuff. And households, 2,194 single family and 176 multifamily. One of the big things, obviously, me being the CPA that I am, is fiscal policy was one of the things that we all sort of focused on this year. And we did a number of things. One is we changed so that we require competitive bids for all the goods and services that the town gets over a certain amount of dollars. And that's turned out to be real efficient and much more effective for the town than what we had before, and I'm excited about how that's gone on. We also, as a council, voted on additional cash reserves. We've got a goal of 50% of all annual expenditures to be covered by a cash reserve. And that's much more than most communities our size, in fact, much, much more than communities our size, which puts us in a very safe position to help weather any storms, and like really we weathered COVID very, very well. We'll talk about that in a little bit. We're taking a look at the outstanding debt. Can we restructure it? Is there ways to restructure it? Can we get less expenditures being put out for our debt than what we currently have? We've done a conservative approach on the 2021 budget. It included no additional borrowings and spendings. not spendings. We're obviously spending money, but there's no additional borrowings that go on. And then we developed up a finance committee, and we're going to talk about it, and the council's going to talk about their committees too. You know, what we've tried to do is reach out and say, hey, residents, if you want to be involved in the town, you want to be involved in how this town operates, tell us, and we'll take your input in a real-time manner. And that's exactly what the finance committee is a bunch of people that we have put in a real-time situation to get their answers. And later on, I'll tell you some of the achievements that they've had. And in fact, I'm going to do it right now. So we've got 7 people that were very involved and helped come up with some ideas. One of the main things that they came up with was when we took a look at the town audited financials was input that came about. Both from a transparency of how do we be more transparent and more making it easier to read, so that it wasn't just an accounting type of document, but it was a readable, living document that anybody could sit there and take a look at and review. And so I think that was one of the better things that we encouraged the prior CPA firm to change and do that. And then the last thing we did as a finance committee was engage a municipal bond advisor. And the purpose of that is first off, see what we've got and can we do a better job with it. And then, going in the future, we're going to have opportunities to potentially refinance in 2022 and 2026 our town debt. And how's the best way for us to get those borrowings and go forward with it? We did a lot of changing around and significant changes. Almost all of our top positions in the town sort of had a recharacterization. First off, what we did is made permanent hires of people that were on contract. And so, or were on an intern basis is really what I should say. So police, our chief of police, we brought in on a permanent position, and our town manager. Previously, that town manager worked as a contract labor, not as an employee of the town. And then we transitioned out of our contract labor and brought in people as employees, which hopefully brings more empathy into the town, more ownership of their duties than a contract labor can do. And we did that both by replacing a CPA firm that was doing our town accounting to a director of finance. We had planning positions that was changed to being incorporated into the town. And lastly, we hired a town attorney as an employee of the town, as opposed to having somebody that was contract labor and going on. Here's what happened just from a dollars and cents. First off, if you look at these, we got a great police chief who's well respected in the law enforcement field. We got a great town manager that we hired this year that I'm really excited about, and we got a new director of finance, much better than I think what we were getting with our prior CPA firm, and a CPA firm being the ones that work, not our auditors. And we got a new town attorney who got incredible experience and should help us tremendously in that area. But in addition to that, we saved a lot of money doing that. By changing to our finance manager, instead of paying a CPA firm to do all the accounting for the town, we've got a finance manager that's doing the exact same work for $140,000 less. we got a town manager who we replaced someone that was on contract with an employee, and our new employee who's we're real excited about and has been here now for 3 months, we are paying $40,000 less. Town attorney, we don't know exactly how much. In 2019, we spent $830,000 in legal fees. Our goal was to get that down. We think, you know, we aren't comparing apples to apples because there were a couple events that happened that year, but we think we ought to be able to get a savings to the town of the tune of $350,000. And then we replaced our contract marketing firm who is doing marketing for the town and doing some of the communication with the residents. And in doing that, we got an events coordinator, and our cost savings for replacing that events coordinator is $80,000. So if you add all that up, in an annual basis, each year, 2021, 22, 23, we should be saving $610,000. Huge difference we're really excited about. The other thing is we got a one-time savings also by the CPA firm resigning. There was a deferred compensation of $150,000 that got forfeited. And by having the attorney resign, he forfeited a $250,000 deferred compensation. So the town, on a one-time hit, received a $400,000 benefit that we wouldn't have had otherwise. So I hope everyone appreciates there was a lot of work that went on, a lot of transition that went, and I think we not only saved the town significant dollars, but we also upgraded the people that we have in all those positions. One of the big keys we are excited about is Aaron Adams. Aaron is our new town manager, and Aaron, do you want to say some words?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor Sukup and members of the council. I appreciate the opportunity to be here in Timnath as part of the organization, but also to be a part of this community. Really happy to be here, as the mayor has mentioned. Just been here 3 months, but very excited to keep the good things going that Timnath has had in its history, and to hopefully be part of its future in helping to keep it on a good path and a place that folks love to be and are moving to. Thank you.
Great, thanks. We're excited to have you here, Aaron. So the next topic we're going to do is something that got created by the strong effort of Aaron Pearson, and he's been running a committee that he's going to explain to you, but this is something that he felt should be done, and he's done just an incredible job with his committee on some of the things we're looking at. So, Aaron, there you go.
Again, my name's Aaron Pearson. I've been on council now for 7 years, and this year we created a Park and Rec Committee, the PROST Committee, which talks about park, recreation, open space, and trails. And we have 9 folks on the committee that we picked. They're all from varying subdivisions throughout the town. So we have a couple from Old Town, some from Wild Wing, and some south of Harmony as well. And we included 2 youth members as well in this committee. So that's nice to have a couple people that are in high school that are able to give us their opinions and thoughts on what would be needed for us in the town for people of that age. So that's been a great committee. We meet bi-monthly and get together. Recently, our conversations have been around the Timnath Reservoir, and we put out a survey to the town so they could talk about what was most important to them and what they would like to see in improvements out at the reservoir. So we put that together, and I think you'll see that a lot of focus is going to be put on trails out there, as well as some of the improvements for the open space area.
Aaron, real quick, we just want to move this podium over here.
Okay.
We're going to put you right on that X.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you. So then we also, this year and the past year, we were able to get the community park. Phase 2 of the community park was finished, and that's down in off of Summerfields Parkway. And in that phase, there was an additional restroom area, 2 dog parks, a big dog park and a little dog park, and a great play area for younger kids with lots of interactive equipment that they can play on and have a good time. There's also a really big open space that can be used for all sorts of events. I've seen people out there playing Frisbee or chasing their dogs or playing some soccer. So that's been a really great addition to our town. This year we also passed the new operating guidelines for golf carts in our communities so that people could use them. Of course, they have to be street legal, and then they can drive from place to place. We also have updated the reservoir permitting system. There was, with COVID this last year, there was a greater demand for boating access out on the Timnath Reservoir. So our Park and Rec Committee, our PROS committee, got together and we discussed what would be the appropriate amount. And I think we found a pretty fair balance between motorized boating and non-motorized boating and other activities. So I think it's gone quite well with the permitting this year too. And lastly, I mentioned our reservoir improvements, and we put in a big retaining wall this year that's going to help to shore up that south shore so that it, to keep it from eroding in the future. And one last point on Park and Rec is with the expansion of I-25 going on, there will be, Timnath has already got our trail system up to go under I-25, and now with that expansion, there will be a connection between the Timnath part of the trails and the Fort Collin part of the trails on the Pooter. So we will be able to take our bikes here soon, when that's complete, about another year or so, where we'll be able to go on our bikes from here all the way to Old Town Fort Collins, which will be a great amenity for us. And there is also in the future, through some grants through GoCo Colorado, that we will do a connection to the south to come into the River Bluffs area, and we will be able to connect there, which will give us connectivity all the way out past Greeley into Evans. So within another couple years, we'll be right in the heart of the trail from Evans all the way up to Old Town Fort Collins. And my last slide is a picture of the park. So everybody loves to see the pictures. Thanks.
Thanks, Aaron. Great job on it. The next area is Lisa Lake, and Lisa has always been an advocate for snow removal routes and getting them improved, and so she took control of helping us all push forward to this. So Lisa, do you want to go ahead and talk?
Thank you. As Mark mentioned, my name's Lisa Lake, and I have been on council for 3 years now. I'm also Timnath's representative on the North Front Range Metropolitan Planning Organization, which is a mouthful, often referred to as the MPO, and that group looks at regional transportation issues, among other topics as well, but transportation is one of the big issues that group works with, and that's made up of elected officials from all different communities around the area. So I'm not going to touch on each point. Some of them you can just kind of read and are somewhat self-explanatory. But I did want to touch on a couple of them. One of them is the street sweeping program. I don't know if anyone's noticed that, but last year we did approve the purchase of a street sweeper. And so now that the town actually owns that equipment, they can do a lot of the cleaning on some of the main roads. They're not going to touch on all of the residential areas, but a lot of the main roads will get cleaned regularly through that program. The second bullet point is about snow removal, and that's a topic that we often get questions about. And seeing as we've recently had a large snowstorm, I just wanted to touch a little bit on that. Last year, we did approve a trial basis of expanding some of the snow routes, and what that did was that increased the number of roads. There was an additional road in Wild Wing, in Harmony, and in, I believe it's Summerfield's Estates. And with that increase, it covered up to 80% of bus routes. That was a common topic that community members were concerned about, is buses getting stuck. What do we do about that?
Okay, next, before I go on to the next one, I sort of wanted to point out something here. Both the sweeper and the snowplow are new this year, and the reason I want to point it out is even though we were fiscally conservative this year with our budget, we wanted to make sure that we kept pace with city services, and these were 2 additional city services that we brought out this year that we didn't have previously. All right, the next thing that we're going to talk about is our public safety department and some of the capital improvements we're doing. Rick Collins has taken a big project with this, along with Aaron Pearson, and what they've done is great. It's been a year-long process of trying to get us the best, most economical, efficient building that we can possibly come up with, and so we appreciate all your hard work there, Rick.
Thank you, Mayor. One of the advantages of being the mayor is he tells you to take a project you've been working on for about 3 years with Aaron and Lisa and others. Tremendous effort by the staff. I'll reiterate those who had Lisa up here and Aaron earlier and the mayor. The staff does a tremendous job here. We're very fortunate to have the staff that we've got here, the planners and the people that are working. But one of the perks, the mayor said, take it and you've got just a few minutes. You've just got a second. And I had about 2 hours worth of material, but I've put it all into 4 slides, and I think a picture's worth 1,000 words. And let's go through the slides real quick. There we go, public safety. Our department in 2010, as you can see, was made up of just 2 or 3 people. I don't know how many of you out there know when the department actually first started in Timnath. And that, my understanding, that was in 2008. So we're very young, if you will. In 2018, the council and the mayor put out a public survey. And as you can see there, public safety became the #1 issue at that point. The council and the mayor at that time were working aggressively to put together the building that we're in right now. So they didn't forget about public safety. It's taken about 3 years to bring it forward after the town center that we're in now came forward. The other thing in the survey, they talked about a 24/7 Timnath police coverage. And for those of you that don't know it, currently we team up with the county sheriff to cover during the night hours, late night. We're moving as fast as we can towards 24/7, so we'll have our own police department here in Timnath, and everything's going fine. I think we're looking at about 20 people, or 20 officers and people at that point. The last one, the council concluded that it was in the best interest to move forward with a fully functioning police, public safety, turning words into action. And if you'll notice down below, I listed all the vendors and all of the architects and intellectual people that are involved in this project. This is not a simple project. A police department has so many little nuances, from Sallyport doors to separate ventilation systems because of the evidence you bring in, that you have to get all the experts involved in this. The other key here that I think the mayor mentioned it earlier was bringing on board the right police chief. And we're very fortunate to have a man of his experience in that position. Terry has done an excellent job and has been working with the committee on this project along with Councilman Pearson and myself. The new police department building team is in place. I'll let you read those on your own. Go to the next slide. Where is the thing going to be located? After extensive selection, we looked at 12 to 13 different sites. It was selected to go, as my dad would say, a stone's throw away here right on Harmony Road next to the Bird Restaurant, Brickyard Bird Restaurant, and you can see the map, and the footprint that you see there is changing. It's changing almost on a daily basis as we figure out this or figure out that. We're looking at a building that's roughly 20,000 square foot to 30,000 square foot. It should meet the town's needs for the next 20 to 30 years. This is what it looks like conceptually at this point. Don't hold us to it because we're always trying to find new ways to save money and new ways to make this a more secure facility, if you would. So with that, I'll turn it over to the mayor again.
All right. One of the hardest working, I think, committees that we had here on a set was our Metro District group, which purpose was to come up and really put a magnifying glass and make transparent all the goings on and workings of the Metro Districts. And Brett Hansen took this on, did an incredible job of being both detailed and big picture with it. And he also has been involved in a lot of the land use projects at Timnath. So thanks a lot for all your help there, Brett, and take her over.
Hi, I'm Brett Hansen. Been on the council for about a year. And the main topics I want to address is in community development, and specifically what the town council has done for the community to make sure we're addressing your needs in the areas of metro districts, open space, and facilitating public input and involvement with how our community develops. So first, on the topic of metro districts, it's a subject that is significant to a number of people in town. Most residents in Timnath live in a metro district, and if you do, you pay significant taxes and fees to a metro district. Those dollars go right into your own neighborhood, and sometimes it's hard to evaluate if you're getting good value for your money. So one of the approaches we took was, as a town, we formed a metro district committee with myself and a number of residents from around various subdivisions within Timnath, as well as a couple developers to help us have a full balanced approach to look at the issue. And we reviewed how the town was going to facilitate better resident interaction with their metro districts. So this committee was tasked with recommending updates to the Timnath's model service plan, which is essentially the rules that govern how a metro district operates, as well as trying to determine what kind of resources the town could provide to residents to help them know how to have a say in how their tax dollars are spent within their own neighborhood. So the recommendations that the committee brought forward and that the council approved essentially were geared towards greater protections for residents, greater power and autonomy for residents, as well as ensuring that the town was not using metro districts as a way of collecting any additional tax revenue, that the town collects no tax dollars of any kind through metro districts. That's money that is collected and is spent in your neighborhood. And then with regards to the educational resources that the town produced, a number of them are on the town website. You can see the link on the slide, timnath.org/metro-districts101. And these resources, the goal of these resources is to meet various levels of interest. Whether you just want to get a little bit of a superficial understanding of metro districts so that you can voice an opinion on how the landscaping in your metro district looks, or if you're interested enough to really try and dive in, or maybe have an interest in serving on your district board. We really want to try and empower residents to be able to have a positive impact with how their district operated and be able to have a say in how their neighborhoods looked. The next area was in the area of how we've evaluated development proposals in the land use code. We've had a few development proposals come before council over this last year, and again, as other council members have suggested, we've always tried to do our best to bring resident input into how we get to the final product on these development proposals, whether it's mandating setbacks from a lake in Saratoga Falls, or mandating an additional buffer of housing between a higher density zoning and a lower density zoning. We've really worked hard to, as much as our legal authority allows, to make sure resident input is included in the final product. One of the key ways we get resident input included is in the land use code. When we evaluate a development proposal, it's not as simple as an edit. We like this development, we don't like this development. But it's the land use code that really gives us the legal authority and legal power to vote a certain way on a development, and to really do the work on the front end to make sure resident input is included with how our community is going to look and feel as it develops. And one example of what we hit was regards to open space requirements. And so basically any higher density zoning use is going to require more open space than lower density zoning uses, essentially balancing out that feel that residents do want to maintain in the community, of having open space, of having walkability, of having a community that just feels like a place you can raise a family and continue to call home. And as we've tried to facilitate public input, I want to take a slide to at least make sure I emphasize how you can be involved and how you can most effectively know about what's going on in the town. A couple of the revisions we've made in town procedures are regards to some of the signage that goes on lots where there's developments under review. We have a picture here of the signs that you may see around town on an empty lot. And if you see one of these, go to the town website and look at developments under review and see what's planned for that land, and that gives you time to figure out your thoughts, rally your neighbors, however you want to get your input included. And as it gets closer to when this will be a public hearing, you'll actually see a red banner placed over the top of these signs to make it very obvious that the time is coming for you to get your input in. And a second point I really want to emphasize is the town emails. Within another week or two, we'll also have an added feature for developments under review to the town email, making it very convenient for residents to know what's going to be happening in town and know if they need to look into an issue a little bit more. We're really passionate and zealous about trying to get public input because it spurs some of these ideas that we have on the land use code and trying to meet resident needs. So we encourage and hope that residents will continue to partner with us in helping to shape a community that we all feel good about. And with that, I'll go back to Mark.
Thanks, Brett. So I have to roam, so I'm going to move this back. So some of the things that happened this year get way into the weeds, and a lot of times as residents, I don't think you see some of the important things that pop up that actually were real key to making Timnath a special place. One is our partnership with Poudre School District. I think everybody sees the high school and the middle school going up, and so it's we've had a great relationship with Poudre School District, and we'll continue to have that. The second is the Poudre Fire Authority. Poudre Fire Authority and us have a real synergistic relationship. We are involved with them. We have impact fees that help support building new fire stations as the town grows and keeping us all protected. And then the last one, which is one that I don't think a lot of people would appreciate and was really the hardest one to come by, is the Larimer County Intergovernmental Agreement. This is an agreement that was tried to get signed up for the last 9 years. And this year we got it accomplished with, again, the work effort of the staff and John Kafalas, County Commissioner. And what that does, what that agreement does, is enhances our synergistic relationship with the county. But it does a little bit more that you don't really realize. And that is that it will require the county to come to the town for any kind of improvements or developments that occur in the town GMA. And what that is is right now, somebody could put an inferior building out. They could put an inferior use in to our county. Because as you know, Timnath only annexed about a third of the area that's here right east of I-25. If we don't protect that area that's now farm and horses and other items, we could end up with a disaster as the town grows. Here we've got sort of a blighted area that we really didn't have a chance to organize and plan in the way that we need to as a town. And with this intergovernmental agreement with the county will turn it over to our excellent planning staff and ask them, hey, you take control of what's there and what should be done. And it's actually one of the probably biggest things that we had happen as far as the town goes, which you don't really see going on. It sets the foundation for the town to control its destiny, and again, it creates a synergistic relationship with the county. The other things that we worked on really hard, and Brett identified it, and Aaron and Lisa and Rick actually with the police department, is how we try to reach out and make what goes on in these council chambers transparent as they possibly can, and make it as transparent as what the staff's doing and how they're doing it. And we've created This Week in Timnath, which weekly comes out and identifies things that are going on with Timnath that may get overlooked by somebody if we didn't put something like that out. The other thing that I think is real important that we did, that's a new development in Timnath, is set up resident committees. We've talked about the finance committee and how it's helped fiscal management of the town. Brett talked about his Metro District Committee, which did a great job of disseminating information and taking a look at the Metro Districts to make sure that they're playing by the exact rules that they're supposed to play by. And the Parks and Rec and Open Space Committee that Aaron has taken with a bunch of the residents and identified what do we want to do and what should we be taking a look at. So, other things that we've got going on, our community building events is, it was a tough year, as everybody knows. COVID stops us from being able to do some of the things we wanted to do, and that's just the way it works. But I was really proud that we sat back and got creative. Creative one was July 4th fireworks. We were able to run a safe environment and have a really great fireworks display and have everybody feel good about the 4th of July. We took the next step. We couldn't do a tree lighting because even though it's a great community event, it was something that would be very dangerous to a big swath of our resident population. So what we did is acted in partnership with the Colorado Youth Outdoors, who did a light show. And it was a great light show. Hopefully you all saw it. 75% of the residents in Timnath attended this. And the reason they got to attend it so easily is they got in for free. We all got in for free. And the reason why is we gave a donation that we usually would have spent on the tree lighting. We gave a donation to Colorado Youth Outdoors, and they in exchange gave us tickets to attend the Holiday Light Tour. And that Holiday Light Tour just added something that we would have lost and helped build at least a sense of family, if not a sense of community. We did 2 cleanup events. We sort of took a step back and said, all right, what can we still do that's safe? And we've always had one cleanup event in May, and we got to September and said, gee, we just don't have a lot of community events going on. let's do another one. It's so successful the first time, and we did it. And that was pretty actually exciting to sit there and pull out. And here you can see the cleanup days, both spring and fall. This one's pictures of the fall one. COVID response, I was real proud of our town. We got lucky, you know, I mean, we got lucky in the fact that we've got Costco and Walmart, and they had great years. And so the sales tax revenues for the town were up, not down, and let us maintain a level of services and protect all of our excellent staff so that they didn't feel at risk in performing their duties. We also, even though we don't have any direct, Poudre School District runs their program, and we have no say in it. But taking a look and knowing that they are having a tough time trying to stay COVID safe, we gave each of our elementary schools $7,500 for ventilation. They bought fans for it and made it so that the kids could be safe and be cool in fall when they did have the schools open. So, what are we going to do in 2021? This is just a glimpse at the start of it. We're obviously going to do a lot more than this. First off, as Lisa directed earlier, we're trying to negotiate the Walmart entry reconstruction. And just so everybody knows, the problem with Walmart is they own the property. We don't. We don't own that entryway in there. We're in the process, and Don Toronto, our Public Works Director, has done an incredible job of trying to get Walmart to the table so that we can maybe fix that intersection right there, and we feel like we've made some progress going forward with it. I-25 in Harmony, it bothers all of us, and we'd love to be able to control our own destiny, but we can't. Between the two stoplights, CDOT controls it, and CDOT controls the lights. And so when you're frustrated with how the lights don't measure up, we are too, and we just can't do anything a lot about it, other than the old squeaky wheel gets the grease. And so we've been squeaking a lot. You know, we make Minnie Mouse sound like she's got a deep voice. We've been squeaking a lot trying to get this thing fixed, and we're getting there. We think that's on the plan, and we're anticipating it, that they're going to redirect traffic on the west side of the bridge and make it expand an extra lane, that they're going to move around the lanes to make them more efficient than what they are, and come in and re-systematize the lights to the extent that they can. So we've been working with CDOT to try to get that, but we don't have control of that section. It's totally the Colorado Department of Transportation that controls it. What we do have control of is our roads. We're taking Bus Grove and taking about half of Bus Grove between Main Street and Latham Parkway and building a real street. What we've got right now is a chip and seal, and chip and seals wear out relatively quick, and it could deteriorate immediately from what I've been told. And so this is going to make it so from the irrigation ditch, if you know where that is, east, we're going to have a new road, and then next year our anticipation is to fix the curve and take it all the way to Main Street. The next one's sort of cool, and whether it comes out or not, who knows? We're trying hard, but we're trying to think out of the box. And one of the things we're thinking about out of the box is, can we convince one of the mobile carriers to put 5G antenna on our streetlights? And it's as you may not, I didn't realize this, but 5G requires that antennas be every 300 feet. I got that right, 300 feet. And so what happens is we provide the perfect cell tower, in quotes, setup. And these little antennas are real small, they're real inconspicuous. But what we've got with the street lights is the ability to potentially have, you know, T-Mobile, AT&T, whoever come in and put antennas on our street lights, and we'll get paid for it. And so it's a way for actually the town, instead of spending money, to create a little profitable business that we can. And we're really excited about it. We don't know how it'll work. We're hoping we can get it accomplished in the next year or two, but that's one of the things we're taking a look at. And then we're revamping the website and making it hopefully a lot more user-friendly, and that's almost ready to be kicked off and go. So, thanks for listening in. What we're going to do, we've asked previously anybody that has questions, and I understand we got quite a few to come in. So Kim's going to read the questions that came in. If anybody here has some questions and stuff, Kim will be happy to field them and go from there. Do you want to take a break, or do you want to?
Yeah, why don't we give you a moment and
Great.
give us 2 minutes, and we'll resituate the room, and then we'll do Q&A.
Great.
Perfect.
You guys are good speakers. No, you really. I mean.
The mayor just reminded me that I never introduced myself. My name is Kim Newcomer. I am in charge of communications for the town of Timnath and have been the voice running around in the background through all of this. So thanks to all of you for your patience today, and I'm really excited to be here. We had more than 20 questions, I'd say closer to the 24 questions. And so the good news is people are watching and they're engaged and they want to know more. The challenge is we don't have all night to answer questions. So I think what we'll do is we'll answer as many questions as we can until 7:15, and then we'll actually let you go home to your families. However, I will promise that we will take all of these questions, create a Q&A, post it online so that if we don't answer your question individually here tonight, please know that we will do so. So let's try and get through them and see how far we get.
All right.
Okay, so let's just start with some that came in a little bit earlier in the week. Irv Christie and Mike Goodrich, they both asked about encouraging local businesses. And Irv wants to know, what's the plan for securing basic retail for the Timnath area? He says, we need a small grocery store, basic retail services like hair salons, dog grooming, restaurants. And then Mike wants to know specifically if we're looking at any plans for a King Soopers.
I'll tell you, one of the interesting things I thought when I went around and was politicking for being mayor was the number one thing that people wanted was a grocery store. It almost was universal on it. And unfortunately, we have no control over that. I mean, I would love to have a grocery store just like everybody else here, but we don't have control. I know we've had talks with some of the council and myself have talked to possibilities, but if King Soopers doesn't want to come here, they're not going to come here. If a little local grocer doesn't want to come here, they're not going to come here. It's totally capitalism, market-driven, and we can't do anything to sit there and bring them in and have that help. Now, what we can do is set up an environment that's encouraging. And we've got several places along Harmony that are good retail type of visual, that somebody drives by and they'll be able to see a sign, or there's the property there for them to build a King Soopers or a small shopette and do that. And so we've set up the zoning to encourage all these retail outlets, but to sit there and say, King Soopers, we want you to build a store here, that's just not how it works, and we'd never be able to do that.
Mayor, a lot of folks, Kelly Lang in particular, wanted to know, what's the plan for town infrastructure? So she's observed that we're growing and that, it's concerning that maybe we're not keeping up with those infrastructure investments. So first of all, big picture, what is the town's plan for those type of investments?
So we have the transportation master plan, and that's been set up, and we work on it. And see you, Kim. And so that's one thing. But you take a look, what are the things that we've done? 2019, the Harmony got completed and done. Right now, we're working on Bus Grove. We're taking a look at cleaning up the intersection that everyone's so concerned about, and rightly so, right by Harmony, in that we're diverting a road or creating a road that will go right alongside Costco and out to County Road 5. So we've got a lot of things actually on the drawing board as infrastructure possibilities, and we require a developer when they come in to put in the infrastructure. The sewer has to be in, the electric has to be in, they have to put up the light posts, they have to do all the things that are required to make it a nice, clean community, and we require that to happen.
Yeah. Along those lines, Mayor, Kelly asked specifically about a couple of projects. She asked about 3 Bell, which Lisa covered. She talked and asked about Walmart, which we covered in the Harmony corridor. What about preparation for the middle high school? That seems like it's going to have some pretty big traffic impacts.
Yeah, and I think it's real key that everybody understands that when we put in a road, that most of the time the person that's putting in the development alongside that road has to pay for that road and the infrastructure that goes with that. And so going back to the school, again, we have no control over what they do. They're their own organization. But what we do have control of is what we do with Prospect. And Prospect, they will pay for making sure that it's expanded and creates a safe traffic structure from the bridge all the way to Main Street to the west. So that 1 mile section, the school district will take responsibility for and create the lanes that are needed, the turn lanes that are needed, and any of the other infrastructure that relate to it.
Since we're in transportation, let's stay here. You know, we couldn't go through this whole thing without talking about the snowstorm of a few weeks ago. It snowed a lot. So we had a couple people, Marilyn Brownlee and Beth, forgive me, Beth, if I say your last name incorrectly, Burlage. They both submitted questions about snow removal. So can you explain why and how and if side roads are plowed? Or as Beth phrased it, why doesn't Wild Wing have snowplow coverage during the large storms?
Okay, so first off, we've identified priority 1, 2, and 3, and we being town staff. Priority 1, we've got to get it done ASAP. Priority 2 is bus routes for the most part, and priority 3 are secondary bus routes. We want to make sure it's safe for the kids to get to the schools, and we've expanded the number of plowed roads based upon trying to cover as much of the bus routes as possible. Now, you know, one of the things that we have is how much do you put monies into the project, the snow plowing, when it only happens 2-3 times a year? Could we get all residential roads covered? Absolutely. We could buy 3 or 4 more snow plows, and I forget, was it $400,000 for this plow? Yeah, tell me, go ahead.
It was not just plows, it was plows, graders, and loaders, because they took all the different types of equipment that we don't have.
Right, but just a snow plow, wasn't it around 400, 450?
Yes.
Okay, and so, you know, to buy 2 or 3 more of those, $1 million, it's going to cost everybody an extra $200 or $300 of property tax to cover it. So we walk this fine line of how do we make sure that we keep the community safe and clean out the roads, but at the same time do it somewhat economically, and that's the tension that is built in there and goes. We do snowplow Wild Wing. Wild Wing has a couple priority 3 roads, and they do get plowed. And in fact, in this last snowstorm, as Lisa identified, we did all the residential roads because after a while we went and wanted to make sure that everybody could get out, and there was so much snow. And as Lisa identified earlier, we had people working 20 hours. I mean, a day. They really put to it, and that's hard on the equipment and hard on the people, but they did it and did a good job. And Lisa, I don't know, do you want to add anything to what I've said, or?
No, I think the financial aspect comes into play. A lot of times it doesn't make sense to plow certain roads when most of the time the snow's going to melt in 2, 3, 4 days. And you saw how long it took a couple days before they even got to it. So.
Yeah, thank you. You know, the economics of it, I think, are important because Marilyn also just brought up the concept of property taxes and how that relates to snow removal. And I know we talked a little bit about that with metro districts, saying that property taxes are allocated to a whole bunch of different entities. But it got me thinking, how much does the town of Timnath get from that? Like, how much do we collect for property taxes to use for things like snow removal?
And this is one of the misnomers I think a lot of people have, that we get all the property taxes. This town's run on sales tax, not on property tax. And so the great majority of our revenues are acquired from sales tax. And Lisa, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's 80% is sales tax that our revenues are. And so be aware of that. The town on house that is $500,000, which is the mean house in Timnath, pays $239 of property tax. So that $239 funds the police, it funds the snow removal, it funds the street cleaning, it funds the maintenance of the median strips, it funds the roads that the town's responsible for, and many other things. It funds all of our staff that are here and working to sit there and make it a smooth running town. So all of those things are funded with $239 out of property taxes. Mm-hmm. If you look at it from just that, it's probably one of the greatest deals anybody ever got.
Let's move to some of the questions that we got here in the room. This is an easy one. Will you be sending out a survey this year for a variety of resident input?
Great, good question. We are. We've been trying to determine when the best time to send out the survey was. We are going to do it last July, and for obvious reasons, people are going to were negative. You know, we weren't going to get the kind of response that we would in normal times. And so the council decided to let's table it. As much as we'd like the input, we're probably not going to get input that's going to really help the community. So we have initiated the process. Kim's already taken a look at some items, and we're hoping to maybe get a community survey out by July. And from that, we'll get that input. And just like why we're creating the police building, which the town said that they wanted, and the reason we went to 24/7 police coverage was because the town wanted it. As identified in the survey, this new survey will do those kinds of things for us too.
Speaking of community input, this person also said, 5G, there's some health issues or concerns that they would like to look into and raise to the town before we pursue such a project. Will we be asking for community input on that initiative before we go too far down the road? Absolutely.
I mean, we're not going to go blinded in it. This, I probably should have been clear. The 5G is, we've probably spent just the veneer of it. That may work, may not, but the point I was trying to make is we're looking at a lot of different things. We're trying to think out of the box so that we've got a progressive community thinking and being on the leading edge. Now, is 5G it? Don't know. We'll find out. And for sure, I can assure everybody, if we find out there's a health hazard, we're not going to put up 5G antennas.
Let's move over to Parks and Rec. So we had a couple of folks, Mary Funkhauser, Perry Marucci, and Catherine Kramer, all submitted questions that were similar and all targeted the reservoir. So I think we can maybe knock off a couple of these. If you could share a little bit more information about the recent survey and the results that happened from that, and about our plans for improvements at the reservoir moving forward.
Would you like to deal with that, Erin?
I think it'd be better if you don't mind.
Do we have that hand? That's what I was looking for a minute ago.
That's okay. We're gonna.
Yeah, go ahead. Get up there and talk.
So the results of the survey are on our website. You can go back and look at those. So specifically, did she have a specific question?
What did the results say, or what did you take away?
The big takeaway from that was the overwhelmingly the emphasis was on the trails and building the trails throughout that system more than building picnic shelters or big play equipment out there. It was much more a natural feeling with trails that went not all the way around the lake at this point, but to an extent where you could have some trails to go each direction. And there's actually a great overlook spot that I know is going to be highlighted out there with the trails. There's going to be some improvements this year. There's money still in our budget for improvements this year for this phase, and then I believe the next phase will be 2 years down the road from then.
Okay, I said 7:15. That gives me one more minute, which I believe is one more question. So let's go ahead and stay on Parks and Recreation, because we did get a couple of questions asking about if there are any plans for a community aquatic center where adults can do lap swimming and not necessarily a kid pool.
So to take, and I've been involved with developing up community centers and athletic centers and that with my various clients. Those things are incredibly expensive. Aquatic Center is incredibly expensive, and you're looking at anywhere from $10 to $20 million. Just to fund the 10 or 20 million, which is really the small cost because the operating expenses are huge, it would probably result in about an $800, $900 a year increase in property taxes. And that's great if that's what the community wants. So, you know, if we get an outpouring on the survey saying, yes, I'd like to pay more property taxes in order to get an athletic club or a community swimming pool, you know, as we've all said, we're listening, and if that's what the community wants, that's what we'll sit there and accomplish out. But what we'll try to put in the survey is, do you want an athletic center, and knowing that it's going to cost somewhere between $500 and $600 to $1,000 a year of additional property taxes per resident, is that something that's worth your dollars? And that's what we'll ask.
I lied. How about one more? One more quick one. We had a couple of questions come in tonight that I think are really interesting. Kathy, Rob, and Allie all asked about transportation in a different sense, and wondering if there's any plans for us to partner with the city of Fort Collins to bring transit services out to Timnath, or even dial-a-ride services. And I don't know if we've had any of those discussions.
We haven't. Don, has Fort Collins reached out, or have we reached out to them on that at all?
Just for the extension of Max all the way to basically Whitehall. We talked about that.
Okay. So you probably didn't hear, but extending Max out to Weitzel Road, which is just on the other side of the bridge, we have talked. So I guess we have done some talking and stuff with it, but nothing that has got any legs to it yet.
Okay. That's great. All right, I really will stop at this point. So thank you all for being here. Thank you all for watching online. Again, we will post this, so if you did miss anything, you can go back and rewatch it. We will also take all of these questions, because I know we only got through about half to maybe 2/3 of them. We'll definitely make sure to put those online as well. I know the mayor might be able to stick around for a little bit longer and answer questions one-on-one, and I'm sure our other council members wouldn't mind lingering just a little bit longer too if folks have additional questions here in the audience. But with that, Mayor, closing thoughts?
No, I appreciate everybody here. Couple things I think are important. One is we got a great staff. Thanks to the staff for doing such a great job. And the staff includes contracts like Kim and Callie and all the number of other people that we have relationships for. We've got a great staff, great group. You guys are supported by 4 great council people. You know, they do this for free. Sometimes they get yelled at for things that they have no control over, and they stay at it, and their hearts are amazingly in the right place, and it's actually a privilege to sit there and work with them. So thanks to the 4 of you guys for doing such an incredible job and stuff. And thanks to the residents. Most people are supportive. As I mentioned earlier, you know, we had 2 people on the Q&A, didn't ask Q&A. All they want to do is say, thank you for giving me the opportunity to give a question. And that's the kind of community we live in, and the great people that are there. You know, in talking to Police Chief Jones, you know, some of the stories he tells about how the officers interact with the town and the schools and stuff are you know, real heart-rendering, you know, and it's really neat that we've got people that are that love being here and love people that they're around. And I don't use those words lightly. I use them because it really is true. And so thank you for being here.